Welcome back. Tributes are pouring in for conservative icon Charlie Kirk as the world mourns his murder. But tragedy only serving to make his movement much stronger. Since Friday alone, Turning Point USA says there has been 32,000 new requests for chapters across the country. Charlie's wife, Erica, vowing that her husband's movement is not going anywhere.
The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. The movement my husband built will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever.
Several politicians and members of the Trump administration attended a vigil at the Kennedy Center last night in Washington. It was way oversubscribed, lines down the block. This coming Sunday, meanwhile, a memorial service is planned and funeral planned at the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. That football stadium can hold 70,000 attendees. President Trump and several cabinet members are expected to be there on Sunday. The producers of The Charlie Kirk Show paid tribute to Kirk during the first show following his death. They kept an empty chair, adding, "Nobody will ever fill it. Nobody could ever hope to." Today, Vice President JD Vance says he will host The Charlie Kirk Show later today. It'll happen at 12 p.m. noon our time to honor his close friend, Charlie Kirk. Joining me now is The Charlie Kirk Show executive producer and Turning Point USA spokesman, a longtime business partner of Charlie's, Andrew Kolvet, back with me this morning. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me once again. We talked yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, and I appreciate you coming back.
Thanks for having me, Maria. It's an honor.
It's hard to listen to Erica, his dear wife, but she made a good point. She's not going to allow Charlie's name to be forgotten, and it seems to me that the movement is just getting bigger and bigger. Andrew, what can you tell us about that?
Well, Maria, I actually have, I guess, some breaking news for you, at least an adjustment to that figure. It's now over 37,000 requests to start new chapters around the country. They just keep pouring in. And I think that's just a testament to how Charlie's message, his legacy, and ultimately his assassination has galvanized so many young people around this country to take what they saw Charlie doing on college campuses every day, to take what they saw him doing on the Charlie Kirk Show every day in his podcast, and take it home, take it to their own community, and make their own hometowns, their own high schools and colleges better and stronger, and ring true with freedom even more.
So, Andrew, tell us what that means. You've already got, what, 900 chapters in colleges and high schools across the country? 900, and you're telling us that 37,000 requests have come in?
Yeah, so we've actually got 900 official school-sanctioned college chapters, and then we have 1,200 high school chapters. And we have a presence on about 3,500 college and high school campuses when you combine them all together. Some are in various points of getting recognized by their campuses. So there are about 23,000 high schools in America, 24,000. And Charlie's vision, I was with him just a couple of weeks ago in Colorado, and he was very bold with the team. He said, we are going to be on every high school campus in the country. And, you know, his team looked at him like, Charlie, that's, I mean, we're at 1,200, you know, there's 24,000 in the country. Let's put a more reasonable expectation here. And so you can imagine, Maria, I was in the room when he said that. You can imagine how amazed I am in this moment to see that Charlie's vision for putting a Club America, that's our high school brand, in every high school campus around the country, I realized that his vision was coming true much, much more quickly than he ever could have imagined.
Unbelievable, Andrew. That is just remarkable how people have, just learned so much from Charlie, and his commentary resonated so much. Andrew, we see so much about Charlie online. I mean, I was so, privileged to join him on his show, and he came on mine, but you know him, the man. Tell us about Charlie Kirk, Andrew, things that we may not know about him.
Charlie was hilarious. A lot of people don't know that. When you spent time privately with Charlie, it was his own sense of humor. It was very Charlie, and he made everybody roll all the time. And he had just an amazing way about him like that. And he would look after other people. This is a man who was spinning 1,000 plates at once, and his mind just simply never stopped. And if he had asked me to do something that was a little bit out of the usual, or that was going to be tough with family and scheduling, he would almost always text me and be like, "How can I take care of your family? Is your wife okay? Can we make sure you have everything? Can I get you a car or whatever to pick you up?" He was just that way, and I always thought maybe he was just that way with me. But then I've realized in the days since that every single person on staff has a similar story like that about Charlie. He was loyal, he was generous, he was decent, he was civil, and he called the people around him to live a life of integrity. And I have 100 such stories like that where he called me to be better. And basically everybody that I've talked to since has about 100 stories that are similar.
I love that. And he knew the young people's sort of what was important to them like nobody else. I mean, he joined me earlier this year and talked a little about what he felt was happening in terms of young people's support for President Trump. Here's what he told me. Watch this.
We are seeing the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock, where younger people are not going to the left like they did in the summer of 1969. No, they're defying all the experts and they're going to the right. We are seeing the base of the Democrat Party evaporate. Democrats are bleeding the core constituency. Young people for so long have been the cornerstone of the American left. They've always been able to count on college campuses as their main source of energy for activism. Now, it's the main source of energy for the Republican Party and for President Trump. 18 to 22-year-olds, these are the lockdown generation. They had prom graduation stolen from them. They had to wear masks unnecessarily. They were forced to get vaccines. They had many friends hurt themselves or kill themselves because of the lockdowns. They do not trust the experts. They get their information from places like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and they are now the most solid and loyal base of President Trump's ever-growing coalition. They're tired of politicians that are so negative on America. They want a positive vision. Think about the negativity that they were formed in. What happens between the ages of 14 and 21 are the most predictive elements of how you view the world. They heard that the world was ending because of COVID, the world is ending because of systemic racism, or the world is ending because of climate change. Honestly, they're rejecting it. They want a positive future, and President Trump is delivering it.
And Andrew, he knew that because he traveled the country engaging, talking to people. He was unapologetic about defending free speech.
Yeah, I mean, this is the wonder of Charlie. He demanded that his fame would never keep him from the people. And when he was doing his show, we would always have everybody email freedom@charliekirk.com. And in the radio breaks, he would read every single one of those emails. I don't know how he did it. The team would always marvel at it, but he did, even the nasty ones. And sometimes he was emailing back and having, arguments with people that disagreed with him. And he would always make a point of going to these campuses, and he would tell me privately, he's like, Andrew, you don't understand. I learn so much just by the nature of the questions that they ask. And so he was in a state of continual improvement, always getting better at delivering his argument and zeroing in, Maria, on the heartbeat, the consternation, the anxiety of the next generation. He knew it better than anybody in the country. And so I hope that we all open our ears and we listen to those things that he was telling us, especially in these final days, because they are still as relevant now as they've ever been.
Absolutely. Andrew, before you go, give us a preview. First of all, you've got JD Vance hosting the show today at 12 p.m. Eastern. Is that going to be live? And number two, give us whatever info you can about Sunday's memorial.
Yeah, I'm actually in Washington, D.C. I flew here yesterday because JD offered to host the show in Charlie's stead to honor his friend. Charlie loved JD. Charlie supported JD when he was an early Senate candidate in Ohio when he was polling at 3%. And he supported him to become the vice president as well. And it was one of the great honors of his life. And so, and he's very proud of what JD's accomplished, and it was JD's idea. And I said, absolutely, let's do it. And it is live at 12 o'clock today. Everybody tune in. We've got a lot of fun guests in store, and it's going to be an amazing tribute to Charlie. It's going to be a lot of personal anecdotes, remembrances, and really unveiling for the world who he was behind the scenes and who these people know and why they respected him so much. And I will just say one correction. You keep saying 70,000 at Cardinal Stadium. You got to remember the floor is going to be opened as well. So we're expecting 100,000 or more at that stadium, and it's going to be an amazing thing. And we're trying to find ways to incorporate as many people that want to come, because even that's not going to be big enough. Maria, we have to have more strategies to let more people be to participate in that remembrance.
But that's a great point, because the football field will be open. So you've got all of that capacity. 100,000 people, amazing. Great. Good luck today. You can watch or listen to the show rather on X and on Rumble when JD, our vice president, sits in for the great and legendary Charlie Kirk. Andrew, thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Andrew Kolvet joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.